The movie is set in future Britain, 2027, and starts with different news recaps detailing the disintegration of governments around the world and explaining that England, as the only country soldering on, has closed its borders to immigrants flocking from all around the world. In the next scene, we are introduced to ex-activist Theo Farron as he gets some coffee on his way to work. Inside the coffee shop, he, like everyone else, is shocked to learn the death of the youngest person on the planet, 18-year-old Diego Ricardo, nicknamed Baby. Dismayed, Theo leaves the shop and is about to cross the street when he sees the shop crumble in an explosion, a seemingly usual occurrence around London. Having had a heavy morning, Theo walks into his office, where his boss and all his co-workers are depressed about Baby, and takes the day off to go see his old ex-political cartoonist turned weed dealer friend Jasper. On his way there, he passes through immigrants termed by the government as refugees, imprisoned in cages as they scream for mercy. Jasper picks him up at the bus station and drives him to his remote house in the woods near Bexhill, where he lives with his catatonic wife, Janice. Once at Jasper's house, Theo and Jasper smoke weed and discuss the current state of the world, the possible reasons behind human infertility, and the existence of the Human Project, an organization that claims to do research and study causes of human infertility and its possible solution. Full of imprisoned refugees everywhere in the streets, the next day, as Theo walks to work, he is kidnapped by a rebellious group named Fishes that is at war with the British government over the abuse of immigrants and claims to fight for the rights and equality of immigrants. They transport him to an unfamiliar place and reveal, much to his surprise, their leader, who is none other than his ex-wife Julian. Julian apologizes for the theatrics and explains that the Fishes need his help getting transit paper for a refugee girl who needs to get to the coast, pass security checkpoints, and convinces him to ask his government official cousin, Nigel. Then the Fishes drop him back where they found him and warn him not to tell a soul he should make sure to contact them once he has the transit papers. Theo sets up dinner with Nigel at Nigel's glamorous house. The two chit-chat, and Theo nonchalantly mentions that he's dating a beautiful girl, but that unfortunately her brother who lives at the coast is sick and that she needs transit papers to go see him. Nigel, touched by the story, promises to see what he can do. A few days later, Theo, through the use of the discrete codes, sets up a meeting with the Fishes. To his dismay, Julian couldn't make it, and her second-in-command, Luke, joins him. Theo reports to Luke that he could only find joint transit papers, meaning that he needs to accompany the refugee past security checkpoints. Luke is a bit disappointed and offers Theo money to escort the girl to the coast, and he agrees. Theo, through a messenger, is then taken to see Julian. He updates her on the new arrangement of the joint transit papers, and she thanks him for his cooperation. They continue talking about their lives of the past 20 years and then get into a fight over the son they lost. Julian manages to calm down and tells him that the reason she came to him for the transit papers when she could have gone to others that support her cause is because she trusts him. She then takes him to a car to start their journey to the coast. There, he meets the refugee girl he will be escorting named Key, Miriam, an ex-midwife, and the driver, Luke. They start their long drive to the coast, and they all start warming up to each other, telling stories of how Theo and Julian met. After a few hours of peaceful driving, they see a burning car blocking the road and a group of armed people running towards them. Luke, to escape, drives backward as fast as he can, but two men on a motorcycle gain on them and shoot and kill Julian. Terror seizes the passengers of the car. Theo kicks the motorcycle with his side of the car door, causing it to crash, and they escape. Luke's driving frantically attracts the attention of police officers and they follow them. After some chase, Luke stops the car. The officers come up and ask him and the rest for their passports. Theo and Miriam show their passport, then Luke all of a sudden kills both the officers and starts driving, and they flee the scene. They travel for a few hours and stop to bury Julian. Then Luke drives them to a safe farm owned by a member of the Fishes. As they get there, Theo, having changed his mind after Julian's death, asks for a ride back to London, but Luke stops him, reasoning that it's too dangerous to travel now with the police on high alert and that they will figure it out in the morning. As they settle in for the night at the farm, Key reveals to Theo that she's pregnant and that Julian told her to trust him no matter what. Key also adds that Julian promised to take her to Tomorrow, a hospital ship disguised as a fishing boat that transports people to the Human Project. During the Fishes meeting later that night, it's broadcast broadcast on the news that there are 4 suspects in the murder of the officers and that the known leader of the fishes, Julian, is dead. A quarrel breaks out in the meeting, with people having different opinions on how to proceed with Key's transport to tomorrow. Key then decides to stay at the farm until it's safe to go to the coast. Everyone accepts her decision and turns in for the night. In the wee hours of the night, Theo hears a commotion coming from downstairs. He goes down to check it out and overhears Luke admitting that he had Julian killed so that he can be in charge, and another member declaring that he wants revenge on him for killing his cousin by crashing the motorcycle earlier that day. Theo quietly runs to Key and Miriam's room, informs them what he has heard, and rushes them to flee with him. They run downstairs and start the car, whose noise wakes everyone. The car moves very slowly, and all the fishes, heavily armed, chase them down the lawn of the farm. The fishes refrain from using their firearms, fearing for the safety of Key, which helps Theo, Miriam, and Key barely manage to escape. Theo drives them to Jasper's house in the woods. Jasper, truly mesmerized by the pregnant girl, welcomes the group. They stay there overnight, studying the schedule for tomorrow, and decide to catch it when it stops at the weather buoy in Bexhill in 2 days, and to stay at Jasper's until then. Jasper arranges for them to get arrested and into Bexhill so that they can get to the weather buoy with the help of his immigration cop friend Sid. They stay there the next day, keep Jasper company, and get to know one another better. Key tells them that she is 8 months pregnant and admits that she doesn't know the name of the father of her baby or even which one of her partners was the father. Jasper tells them about Theo's kid, a magical boy named Dylan, who died of the flu pandemic in 2008, and on the second night they are awakened by the blaring of Jasper's alarm as it's broken into by the fishes trespassing into the woods. Jasper sets Key, Miriam, and Theo to escape in his car, but refuses to join them, offering to buy them some time by sending the fishes the wrong way. Theo drives off and watches the encounter from a nearby hill. Jasper tries to buy some time, but is shot dead on the spot as Theo watches from afar. The devastated Theo drives to a dilapidated building a few miles away to meet with Sid. As they wait for him there, Miriam tells him how all of her patients started having miscarriages 20 years ago when she was a midwife, and how the lack of children's voices changed humanity and resulted in all the brutality seen in the world today. Sid finally gets there and takes them to Bexhill, pretending that he has arrested them. During the ride there, Key starts getting contractions. Sid gets them to Bexhill and tells them to look for a gypsy Arab woman named Marichka who will give them accommodations for the night. They get there and are transported to the prison area by a bus along with other prisoners. Key's contractions become more frequent, and just as they are about to get off at the prison, her water breaks. The guards come inside the bus to give orders, and Miriam distracts them by faking mania. They get her off and put her among the people to be executed. The bus moves along, and Theo and Key get off safely at the prison-like village. They manage to find Marichka, and she gives them accommodations for the night. Key goes into labor, and Theo helps deliver a baby girl overnight. In the morning, Sid informs them that the fishes have broken into Bexhill, and that the police are also looking for them and see the baby. Then Sid unexpectedly tries to capture and give Key and Theo to the highest bidder, but they manage to escape him with Marichka's help. Marichka then takes them to a man that can help them get to a boat to take them to tomorrow. He hosts them graciously, and they start making their way to the boat. Unfortunately, a war breaks out between the fishes and the British government inside the camp, and all hell breaks loose. As they cautiously make their way to the boat that Marichka's friend promised, they are intercepted by the fishes. One of the fishes proceeds to shoot Theo, screaming vengeance for his cousin, who died in the motorcycle crash, but is stopped by Luke, who comes rushing in to check on Key and the baby. Key is not impressed by his concern and spits in his face. Luke then takes Key and the baby away and orders the fishes to kill all 3 of them once Key is out of earshot. They wait, and as soon as they kill Marichka's friend, the fishes themselves start taking fire from the soldiers. Marichka and Theo escape, but they are separated. Theo then follows Key into the building Luke took her, barely managing to escape crossfires. He finds her sitting in a corner, trying to comfort her weeping child, while Luke sits across from her, returning fire and screaming that Julian was wrong for thinking it could be peaceful again, and that he had forgotten what babies look like until he saw Key's baby. Theo helps Key to her feet and proceeds to leave, but Luke stops him, telling him that they need the baby to make a political point and to get more people on the fish's side. Theo ignores him and starts running, and Luke shoots in his direction multiple times before Luke's side of the building is bombed and explodes. The baby is wailing sailing uncontrollably by this point and grabs everyone's attention. Everyone, including the soldiers, stops to hear, look at, and admire the baby, and in the process, let them pass through in a guard of honor. As they make it out of the war zone, they are reunited with Marichka. They are happy to see her, and she takes them to the boat in the tunnel her friend had set up. She refuses to go on and sends them on their way. As they start sailing and approach the weather buoy, they see fighting drones going to Bexhill. Key then sees some blood and panics, thinking she got injured, but Theo tells her that Luke had gotten him earlier and that he is the one bleeding. He then warns her to keep her baby close no matter what and teaches her to burp him. Key then shares that she has decided to name her baby Dylan after Theo and Julian's son. Theo fades into unconsciousness with a smile on his face. A moment later, Key sees Tomorrow approaching and tells Theo and Dylan that they are finally safe. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch our next videos on the screen, and don't forget for more amazing recaps. See you on the next one.